Hello again. Lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you too. I haven't seen you in a while. Thank you for being here again, accepting my invitation.
My pleasure. Thank you for.
How is everything? How is everything in Sydney? Good.
It is getting more exciting. So we're looking forward to a slightly better Christmas and New Year's Eve than last year.
Amazing. Now you have a little bit more freedom, so you could do that. Perfect. Let me see if I could invite John. Okay, John is coming as well. Yay! I'm so excited. Perfect.
Hello,
Good
how are you?
afternoon. Hi, John. Thank you for
Greetings from
accepting.
sunny Queensland.
From Queensland, yes, sunny and hot and perfect, perfect. Thank you for coming, accepting my invitation, both of you. I would like to introduce to the audience to tell them what we're going to do today and why I invited you. So I have here with me John Bernard, who's the founder of Opal.minded, and he is the creator of this amazing jewelry maison from Australia. And of course, Renata Bernard, she's the artist behind every single piece. She's the creative director of Opal.minded, and they both work together to create this amazing jewelry maison from Sydney, Australia, and I have the honor to have them here with me. You both share the love for opal, so that's why you create these beautiful pieces, I'm sure. And now I would like to give the word to John because I know, John, you actually grew up in a family surrounded by opals. Your father was an explorer, and you have cutting and opal love in your blood. Could you share with us the beginnings, the early beginnings, and how you decided to actually acquire even the mines?
If I were to tell my story, I have to tell my father's story, really, because that's where it starts. And just as briefly as possible, my father was in the Polish army under British command in Italy during the Second World War. And after the war, when he was demobilized, he joined the Merchant Navy, and he had aspirations to go to Australia because he was intrigued by stories of explorers, including Polish explorers that happened to discover the first gold mines in Australia, or payable gold anyhow. And so he jumped ship in Fremantle in 1948 and went gold mining. But it took him a while. He got married, and then eventually, through a series of events, end up opal mining in Cooper Pedy in the mid 60s, where I was born. So I basically grew up on an opal field. I started walking, as they say, walking behind the bulldozer, meaning that you were specking from the age of 7. But when I grew up and finished high school and then went for a brief stint to uni, I wasn't really interested in the opal industry at all. And it was only by pure accident that I bought a parcel for $25 at one of these brick and back shows that they have, like people selling from the back of their trunk or something like that. I found some opals, and I managed to cut out of that $25 about $4,500. So I got the bug, and even although I actually went on my separate way, I didn't join my father. I started working with my father about 20 years later, and where I purchased a mine, and we weren't getting along very well for a great period of time. But eventually, as sons do, we managed to find a common ground, and we started working together. Since then, my father has passed away, and I'm purely doing it on my own. But the mining is something that I really, really tried to avoid because I saw the tragedy behind it. Most miners don't succeed. This is a very hard business in a very hard, harsh environment out in the Australian bush where you don't have those simple luxuries. So that basically is the start. And about 33 years ago, I decided what I really wanted to do is go into retail and create jewelry and be part of that side of the story. but now we are covering pretty much every aspect of the story.
True.
Yeah.
Amazing story. Thank you for sharing. Beautiful how you actually decided one day, you realized this is what I'm meant to do. So impressive.
It took a while to actually
True.
accept that, because I think I had a bit of a negative connotation, being my father and this, that, and the other. I wanted to be my own person, but yeah, it grew, and I can't imagine doing anything else.
True. Amazing. It's always Renata, share with us as well, please, your thoughts, and tell us a little bit about artistic side, because you are the artist behind all these. Tell me your visions, how you get inspired.
There's plenty of inspiration. I could perhaps start with just mentioning or taking it from where John stopped. I think
Yes.
once you have opals in your bloodstream, you will never get them out. They're highly contagious, and there is no escape once you succumb to their beauty and excitement. There's just it's difficult simply to leave them behind. So that's how my story, my journey with opal started, because I met John. I was not that excited about the gemstones, wasn't that much interested until I saw some really good quality opals, and that was it. I never looked back. Now, when it comes to inspiration, there is plenty of it. Some of it comes from just the conversations that John I would be having. Some is so there are two types of jewelry creations that we do. One is the type that comes from me. So this is what's happening in my life. These are the experiences, sensations, and so on that I've experienced. And then the other type of creation, which I absolutely love as well, is the conversation with someone for whom I create. So this is something, strangely, during COVID, this pandemic, I've been making more pieces, we've been designing more pieces that are this second idea of creation. So this is a conversation with someone who wants to have something special that commemorates, that symbolizes things that happen in their life, in conversation with me and my understanding of the gemstone. So that's hugely exciting for me. That's very rewarding.
Yes, indeed. That's actually all about connection with people and making them happy, and actually create something for them, for their personality, their family, something that it's going to be a heirloom. And you can definitely do that with a piece of gem like opal that has a rainbow color and so much value. Now, John, I would very much like to show it to the audience. What do you have there? Because you are almost at the mines, next to the mines in Queensland, and you have the rock opals, and we would like to see those amazing pieces. And maybe you could explain why you show us, could explain, particularities about it.
Okay, the two types of opal that I've prepared here. One, boulder opal, which most of your viewers may be familiar. It's probably the second most popular type of opal. And the other opal is, which we refer to as pipe opal. Now, pipe opal basically is root replacement. It's a fossil. It only comes from Queensland. Not too many people are involved in it. It's only produces in specific areas. I'm a big fan of pipe opal. So if you can imagine 100 million year old root, which was replaced with silicon dioxide and H2O and created opal. So I'll just flip my phone. So bear with me.
Yes.
I'm not really technically minded. Okay, so let's just go firstly, boulder opal. Okay, so when we find when we find boulder opal, it's comes in veins like, as you can see here. This has been blocked out of a very large piece. These pieces can be as big as a car sometimes, and you will only find opal at one end. Or, opal mining is extremely disappointing. 95% of your time is being disheartened, and that's 5% is the wow factor that makes up for everything else. But to give you an example, here is a vein. You cannot see it, but I can see it here. This one actually has a cleave. So in this case, which is very rare, we would split this stone. And to give you an example of how a split stone looks like, bear with me. So here is another stone, which is a similar vein, which has been split. So you can see right throughout the other side, there was a fine cleave through the middle, and we split it, and then we have this amazing pair.
Voila.
Voila.
You have the ocean in your hands. Beautiful.
Absolutely. You can see it. It will clean up. That has some blemishes around it, but it will clean up, and it will be a wonderful pair. Now, then you get to the extremes where sometimes you cannot split the stone, which is good also. And we then have to slowly grind away the ironstone to expose the opal. This is a fairly large piece. It's actually a very good condition. There is actually a fine crack there, which is fine because it's at the...
it's going to disappear, that one. When you polish it, all those little blemishes, I want to share with people that they might not know. Blemishes are small surface inclusions, maybe, or they're going to disappear. Okay.
Absolutely. In this case, they will. Sometimes they don't. So we'll just clean up. This is being grinded on a fairly rough wheel just to get exposed to see where we're going. I will now take this to Sydney and work on it. It will take me a couple of days to actually clean it up, to see if we what stone will we end up being with, whether it'll be one large stone or multiple stones, and that decision will also be probably directed a little bit by Renata. So that's another example. I'm just going to go through them. This is another split, which I cannot find the other side because it gives you another example.
This is so beautiful. It's smaller, but it has so many colors, all the colors of the rainbow, a lot of strong hues as well.
Yeah. A lot of it will still clean up, but that's just in its fairly rough term. And here is another one.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Split. Most likely it'll be one stone there and maybe a couple of small ones there. That's potched, that's not good. So that'll be that one. What
turquoise and blue deep colors, all the colors. Okay, so this is gonna be split in two.
This one, this one will split it. And then this is something that again you could see that there's actually really little, there's just a little bit of really good color there. I left it as it is because it requires some really gentle work to get the most out of it, and I don't have the equipment here to do it, but that's exposed. Now the other type of opal that I mentioned that we do have is pipe opal. Now, pipe opal, as I said, is root replacement. So they call it pipe opal because it usually looks like a pipe. And, sorry, I'll just grab it. Okay, so this is pipe opal.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, so you can see there's a bit of potch there and the really nice color there. So most likely the stone top will be there.
This opal has a lot of fluorescence. I see. I don't know, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
But this opal actually doesn't fluoresce under UV light. But yes, it appears that
it's just that impression. It gives you that impression of fluorescence. Yeah.
So the other pipe opal, I've got a series of them because it was actually one large, long one. And what I like about this particular pipe opal is it reminds me of Nevadan black opal, which is actually one of my favorite opals. It's Nevada from the States, and the only difference is that theirs is a sedimentary. Sorry, theirs is a volcanic and ours is sedimentary. So ours is stable, and they have to keep theirs in some sort of liquid form, usually in water or something like that, as specimens. So your viewers who are familiar with Nevadan black opal will see a fairly resemblance. That's one piece. There are actually multiple pieces to this thing. I'm just trying to...
So interesting.
Okay.
They are formed in different ways, volcanic and sedimentary, but in the same time, they have almost the same features. They look the same. It's so interesting.
Yeah, but unfortunately, the volcanic is a little bit too unstable for jewelry.
Okay.
Although they still use it, but you know you can't guarantee the durability of them. But
durability, and that's important. Yeah. True.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the pipe goes right through to the other end, and then you've got another piece like this one.
We have someone that wants that piece, so put it on hold. Ian Mahan, and first of all, he said it's gorgeous, and then we have to put it on hold. So let's see.
Yeah, I'm the minder. You have to talk to Renata.
Okay, we talk to Renata. Okay.
This is still part of the same pipe because it was about at least 20, 25 centimeters long.
Okay.
Color there is rather dense on the bottom. So even although it doesn't really look fantastic on the side, it'll look really great once we face the stone. Because they're quite large. I don't know if you can see that. My camera is not the best, or my phone is not the best, and the lighting is not the best.
We can see the color is so strong that it can be seen through this through everything. So yes, it's beautiful.
It's very different because it's more like a jelly type crystal. And,
jelly. I like that.
The color is very three-dimensional, as opposed to, for example, the boulder is a little bit more two-dimensional.
Okay, so you have it on one side, and this rock, the other rock, you have it on all those three sides.
Yes, but the fact is that you can look, as you can see that there's depth in the stone. You can look. It's a bit like. I think an analogy of using Star Trek when it goes into warp drive. I don't know if people understand that. In other words, it's like looking at stars deep within the stone. So it's very, very three-dimensional.
Oh my God. Look at that. Renata is showing us a beautiful piece of jewelry that it's kind of similar with what are you showing us. So people could actually understand the process that most of the pieces are mined and found by John, and then they are sent back to Sydney to Renata to play with her inspiration and artistic side. What else do you have, Renata, there that it might be similar with John is showing us?
Actually, the pipes that John was showing, that they are, I think, our favorite. Well, there are quite a few favorite types of opals that we both have, so I shouldn't be probably saying that favorite because everything is favorite. But yes, that's a type of a gemstone that can come out at the other end, except that we don't know until John exposes the rest of the stone, and we'll see what happens, whether there is a lot of excitement or just a little bit of it. Whether there are any interruptions to the stone. But that's the jewel that may be lying ahead for the rocks that John has found. I haven't seen many of those, so it's quite a revelation for me. I can show you also a couple.
Beautiful. I love that piece. That is one of my favorite pieces. I love the shape. I love the especially the color. Look at this. Oh my God.
That's one of the gems that's really attractive to me. I don't know, John, do you have anything similar to this in rough now? That would be lovely to see.
I think, well, just to add to this, I mean, if you're mining opal in, say, for example, South Australia or Cooper Pedy, which is the white opal, it is relatively easy to find something that resembles that same stone. Where we mine, what I get this year is not going to be the same what I got last year. Yes, there will be some stones that are similar, but this grouping that I have here at the moment is, I don't think we have anything like it in Sydney. And that's what makes mining in Jundah, our specific mine, or just generally in Queensland, a little bit more different than, say, even Lightning Ridge, which you can find stones that are similar. So the question is, do we have anything similar to that? Probably not.
True. True.
Yeah.
You are true,
But
John.
what Renata is showing is pipe opal, but it is pipe opal that we found maybe 120 meters away from where I got these ones. So it's always a little bit different, and that's what makes I think opal in general a very unique gemstone, in some ways a true gemstone, because each one is so much an individual.
True. They are.
And that's something that we can't get with any other gemstone to the extent that you can with an opal. We just recently had a beautiful customer in the States who is so overwhelmed by the variety of opals that he's just jumping from one type to another, and he just can't get enough because it just almost impossible to decide.
Yes.
Well, one of the most, but just on a lighter note, one of the most stressful things that I can get from my wife is if she tells me that she needs to match a stone that was sold 10 years ago. And that's extremely stressful. Although I believe we matched something, I think I saw it on one of our reviews. We did match a stone from 10 years ago. Is that right, Renata?
We did yes. So we found earrings.
It's extremely difficult.
It was, in this case, it wasn't because the color was reasonably evenly, quite harmonious and evenly distributed. It was a little bit easier than if we get something quite exuberant and complicated, which a lot of opals are. So that we were lucky. But we were also once, a few years ago, there was a client who commissioned a set of earrings that would match the pendant that he got. It took me 2 years it took us 2 years to find the matching stones, and most bizarrely they were held by someone in Melbourne, and we found them in Hong Kong. So it was 2 year search for two stones to match the third one.
Very difficult. Well, the world, it's a small world, and yes, sometimes we might be lucky to find something similar, but as John said, they will never be the same. They are unique. They have their own personality. That's why we love opal so much, the play of color. And also, John, I think they have a specific pattern, every single opal, right? They have an Harlequin pattern. They all have like different patterns that we see and appreciate.
Yeah, patterns are fairly unique. There are set standard patterns that people talk about it, but the variety of patterns, especially from Queensland, is so broad. It's amazing. It's amazing. I have still images of stones that I sold 20, 30 years ago that are still in my head that I cannot ever get again. And you regret selling it, and clearly I didn't sell it for enough because the value of it is now incredible.
It's growing. It's increasing.
Yeah.
Every single year it's increasing. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Stones that I cannot repeat, and that's what motivates me, is to find a fairly unique stone, and that's why we're mining in Jundah, because it's the only place that can give us that.
Beautiful, beautiful, amazing quality opals are being found there at mines in Queensland. What did you did there, John? We have you created a pyramid.
I'm sorry, I just thought I'd snag it. I'm wondering if people still wanting to look at it. I only have a few pieces here.
we have the Egyptian
Yeah.
pyramid out of opals.
You do tend to play a lot with stones if you're in this business. You look at them all the time, and I even now, as we're talking, I'm looking at one piece and I'm thinking, okay, I now know how to cut that stone, but it takes some time to actually figure it out. Which way is it going to be the best? I'd like to spend time to think about it before we go on it, because the difference between it takes 5 seconds to completely destroy a stone. Put it that way.
A fraction of a second, John.
Oh my
A fraction
God.
of a second.
That's what I wanted. I was curious about. How do you decide to cut? To, you know, what's the how long do you wait to decide, and how is that process of cutting and polishing?
Well,
it's amazing.
Okay, whether it's boulder opal or pipe opal, but specifically more pipe opal, what you need to do is when the stone has been sort of surrounded by its matrix for 100 million years. Once you take the stone out of the ground, it's a different environment, so it distresses. The more process you put through it, it distresses, and therefore it may, whatever faults come out, it'll come out eventually. So I'm one of these people who not only do, when I start blocking, I will heat the stone up to temperatures of about 120, 140 degrees slowly, and then bring it down, which will then expose any faults that the stone has. So as I mentioned before when we had a private conversation, the stone in itself is organic. It will tell you what it needs to do. So I don't fight against the stone. So once I expose it, I look for its faults, make sure I cut it in a way where I'll maximum benefit from that stone, but it needs to de-stress. In other words, create its own. If there are faults in it, it'll come out. So that's my process, and at the end of the day, the stone tells you what it needs to be, how it needs to be cut. It's
Beautiful.
not the other way around.
Beautiful. It's your decision together with Renata, of course, but at the end of the day, that's amazing. The stone just guides you. The stone tells you the best way to be cut and to unveil that beauty. It has personality, as I said before. Beautiful.
Yeah. So therefore, you'll see most of our stones aren't calibrated. They're not a specific size. Even when they are calibrated, they're not 100% calibrated. The stone's telling you what to do. We do, when I finally do expose it and get it into a state where it's almost ready for polish, we can discuss it, whether we can improve the shape. But at the end of the day, the stone dictates this scenario. I would love to be cutting only calibrated stones. It would make jewelry manufacturing extremely easy, but we don't. Everything is handmade.
Yes, everything is one of a kind.
I do have to add here, because John makes it really, really easy. It sounds really easy that the stone tells you what to do. If this is the case, cutting opals would be really a really easy, intuitive kind of pursuit, but it isn't. It actually requires a lot of experience. This intuition comes from years and years of seeing hundreds of thousands stones and learning from each one of them, and each one of them is going to be different. There is no crystal structure to opal gems, so there is no set ways in which an opal cutter can adjust. Every one of them requires a new approach. So yes, the stone can tell you what to do, but you also have to have this immense wisdom of experience.
Maybe you have to know how to read. Yes, true.
Yes.
Okay, I understand. It's a beautiful process, interesting and very hard process. That's why the value, not only because of the color and play of color, it's only because of the manufacture. It's also because of the manufacturer. And I like the way you collaborate with each other, because I was asking you before, this for me, it's really interesting as John, you discovered them and you have that you are eager to discover beautiful pieces. In the same time, you send a voice message, or you send a note to Renata, and she gives you her ideas, and maybe you could do something. How is that process? Is it difficult to collaborate with such a distance and all, especially nowadays with these times?
It is a little bit difficult now, as you said, with these times during the COVID. Um, I, I I think it's just a fairly organic idea. I mean, it's. I suppose Renata would probably explain it a little bit better. And I'm just thinking, I actually don't give it much thought. It's something that we've been doing for such a long time that that ideas are just there. I suppose. Yeah, I'm not quite sure.
It just comes natural for you. I understand.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I'm a little bit tired because it is 40 plus here, and we're still working, and I just about this time I start to get really tired. I'm not thinking quite straight. Yeah. But yeah,
such this way people could understand such all the sacrifices and all the work that it goes into this process, and yes, and how much you actually try to give back to all the workers and the environment. Even that, it's something that we truly appreciate, because someone was asking me about sustainability before we started the talk show, and they wanted to know more about that. And maybe Renata or John, who wants to share with me something about your involvement and care for nature.
So, John, would you like to take it away? You know what you are doing there.
Well, in actual fact, we are doing some reclamation work now, or rehab work, whichever way you want to say it. It's funny about sustainability because it's a fairly broad word, and as I think some people get kind of really confused about it. Because if you're looking at a particular mine like Jundah, you could talk about sustainability in the sense that we cannot mine everything from that mine. As technologies improve, this mine will continue going on for a very long time. And also there is I'm an advocate of the idea that opal is actually being formed all the time. And I have ample proof throughout my years that I've actually seen this in its physical sense. Although I'm saying it's 100 million years, that's the consensus generally. But I've actually seen evidence that it is continuing going. So we're a low impact mine. We use ground penetrating radar and drilling, so we don't disturb the ground as much as possible. Although we're in a fairly historical mine, which has been around for about 130 years, and we are actually rehabbing the areas that were mined 100 years ago. And we're still, within those areas, we're still actually finding some opal. As technologies improve, you cannot physically simply take out as much. Adding to the fact that this opal is probably still being created as we speak, because the geological conditions are still there. It may take another 200 million years, but it will still be there. The elements are all there. And the other issue is, like, when you talk about sustainability, what happens to a particular mine like an opal mine? Well, funny enough, tourism is a big thing in old abandoned opal mines, because every time it rains, it exposes new material. So it's another added bonus to it, that it does create income for locals and attract tourism. So that's why I think when you're talking about sustainability, it is rather broad. Now, our responsibility to the environment is something that we take extremely seriously. And a lot of the areas, and Renata will probably elaborate on that, because she gets rather excited about it. To me, it's I'm just doing my job. I'm making sure that the place looks better or the same or better than it was before. and we've done a lot towards that. What else can we talk?
So
yeah, I hope that
basically
covers it.
what
Yeah.
John is saying, this is the last time I went to the mines was in June. I was supposed to be coming back with the whole family, and we didn't make it because of the lockdowns. We couldn't get out of Sydney anymore. But during the June visit, I asked John to take me around the different areas to have a look how the nature rejuvenates after we finished, we covered the holes. And actually it shocked me. What I was really surprised with was that 2 years after covering the ground, the rejuvenation of the nature actually took hold and came back with more force than what the ground looked like before we started to mine. So that was I did not expect that. So a year later, we got the ground to the pretty much the state that it was before mining, and 2 years later, it looked greener. It looked more alive. I think that we were discussing it. So John's suggestion was that this had a lot to do with the water being able to get out a little bit high into the ground and then feed into the ceilings that John and the team were putting back in the ground. So that's probably the most likely explanation, but the effect was most
amazing. Surprising. Thank you for the explanation. And I've been reading on the website. You also use solar energy. I mean, you are trying everything to be bio and to protect the environment. That's very important. And I like the idea that Renata shared. The environment, I mean, the nature and the vegetation grew up even more after you helped the vegetation. It grew up to be even more, I don't know, flourishing and healthy, better than it was before you all started. So it's important to give that back. And many people, especially nowadays, they are they are interested to know about this. And now, thank you for sharing that. And I would ask Renata if you could show us again a few of the pieces, because we only seen it for like a short period of time, the pieces that you have there, and we could understand better the creation of those amazing pieces.
So these are just the pieces that come from our mines. We designed and have in our collection opals, purely Australian opals from different mines, different areas, mining areas in Australia. These are just the opals from our mines, the opals that John found personally from Jundah Opalville, from one of the oldest mining areas in Australia. So this is pipe opal. This is very thick. This is a very meaty, solid kind of expansive chunk of opal. It's that size, that chunkiness and brightness that's not quite easy to find. And that's of course set in 18 karat gold with diamonds. It's a piece that's called Blue Symphony.
Blue Symphony. Yes, I love the names. You always have beautiful names for all of your pieces. Amazing. Blue Symphony. True. With that play of color, ocean, deep colors. And then you have another ring that it's called the same way, right?
Yes, I was going to show it, but I just realized that John is showing the pipe that white.
I just asked one of the chaps, because he came in, he was repairing our drill, and I couldn't find this particular one, and he just came in, and I asked him to bring it in, and this shows how big those pipes can be. And this was found right next to the dark ones, and this is basically white opal. But it's a massive pipe going all the way down here, and that would have been originally like this.
Like that. This is magical. Magical.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know if I'm a little bit too close, because it's actually quite big. And we cut it, and then it actually went, I hit it with the excavator, so it did, and gives you an idea. Really nice, bright material. You can see it on the side. It's a lot better. But I just wanted to show you that the variety of types of opal that we get here.
Mm.
And then
Yes.
when you have a look at what John is showing, so the pattern in that opal, it came from, well, not the same, but the area very close to it. The pattern that is there on John's opal is finer. By finer, I mean just smaller chunks of play of color. Whereas what I'm holding here, that's also a pipe opal. This is also white pipe, but the chunks of color are much broader. And we have more reds here, I believe, whereas John is playing with pinks. So
True. I see orange, red, greens, all the spectral colors in one small little piece. Beautiful. This actually, it's La Gioconda ring, right?
oh, yes, it is. Well spotted.
Beautiful. I remember because I love the name, impressive. And you said it was inspired by Mona Lisa, iconic smile. You see.
Well, how interesting all these connotations. It's lovely. And this is another opal that came from that was found by John. So that's part of the Blue Symphony, and it is a little bit different. So it's again pipe, but not as chunky and not as I guess breaky, for the lack of a better word, but with much denser play of color.
Okay.
So it was matched mainly for color. Perhaps the type of opal is a little bit different, but we discussed already how difficult it is to match two stones, two opals to make a set. So we have a good match for color here. And we also have, I don't have them here, but the earrings that come from a different mining area. I'll show you just a few more pieces, which we've had a quick look at,
please.
that come from similar material yet different. So here, what I find particularly exciting about this stone is called reef flows, that you can, I'm not sure whether it can be seen very well, but you can almost see how something liquid flow very slowly and then stagnated, solidified. We can see those flows kind of gently happening, swelling in the stone. And that's really beautiful. Hence that's the setting, which is also swelling and flowing and just doing exactly what the stone is.
I love that comparison, the way you said it. It looks like it was fluid, but then it just solidified. It's like floating, I don't know, in a lagoon. It's beautiful.
Exactly. Good comparison. And then we have, this is again a slightly chunkier realization of an opal from our mines. And it's a very particular, John can tell you a little bit more about how that opal differs from adjacent areas even. It's got this amazing quality where it can, and I experienced it even recently. I opened the safe where I had a pair of light opals sitting in the dark. And I had this amazing pinkiness just jumping at me, bright, like fluorescence, but it wasn't fluorescence. It was just the color, which was brought out by very limited light entering the safe. The light was limited. The color was really vibrant and unexpected because I was not seeing these opals in those conditions. And that's the quality, which is quite, we've seen it in different combinations in opals that come from Jundah Opalville, and that's not caused by fluorescence. It's a completely different phenomenon. So here we're having this chunky, again, vibrant, deep opal, which very strangely, I don't know again whether it's possible to see it, but it's got some sort of pink undertones that are hidden deeply in the stone, and they just come out from time to time. And this is also something that's really exciting. So you are sometimes looking at the stone for a long time, and then you'll see something that you had never seen in it before. Just element of surprise, it just comes out and it does something unexpected.
Amazing.
That's also the excitement. And just one last stone, a ring. You can see that
True.
I love rings. I love looking at rings. So this is a crystal opal, pipe opal, crystal pipe opal that is quite translucent on one hand, but with limited, this is actually quite a bad light for it. With limited light, you can see these chunks of vibrant color just floating in transparency. And it's a really mesmerizing effect because they just shift and flow. It's pretty much the sensation that you can get when you dive in a particularly colorful, bright water. I mean, deep diving, when everything
Deep
just
diving.
glitters and changes and flows.
Especially in Australian waters or Caribbean waters. Yes. Oh, it's beautiful. I know, as you said, only opal can have that play of color and that surprise element that will always, you never know what to expect. You never know what you're going to get. John doesn't know exactly what he's going to find there and how it's going to be cut, but then it's just dictating, and the colors, the spectral colors, the rainbows, or I don't know, so many comparisons we can make to these gemstones. Beautiful.
But just to add to what Renata was saying, and I think your viewers might be really interested in this. There's a lot of discussion about what makes an opal valuable. Black, white, patterns, colors. These are all, you know, honorable ideas about what opal is about. But what really makes an opal valuable, and this is when people are looking at opal in the future, when they start looking at opal, look at it slightly differently than most people. What opal is white light passing through a prism effect and giving its colors. So what makes an opal really good? It's how it behaves in different types of light. If you take an opal out of the light and it still reflects strong colors and strong and is bright, that's what makes really an opal valuable. So that's why, in the sense, in our boutique, we have different types of lights. We have the outside light. You can walk outside, and we encourage people to walk out. No one's run off with an opal yet. We don't wear jewelry under these bright, you know, shop lights. We wear it under normal light, and that's what makes an opal extremely valuable. Not all opal does that. A lot of the opal from different mines don't. And this is what I love about Queensland, or specifically Jundah opal, that it absorbs and reflects color in all sorts of light.
Beautiful. Amazing explanation. I really appreciate that. I'm sure everybody will love that. It's pure science, and in the same time, it's something that we love, and especially that amazing insight about the Queensland opals, that they have that reflection, or the white light goes in and then you have the rainbow colors going out. Amazing. Thank you for all. Yes.
So think of it as a bit like your sensor in the camera.
Okay.
The
True.
ability to absorb the light and reflect color. So now people will just, you know, when you go and buy an opal, if your viewers are looking to buy an opal, ask to be taken outside from the light in a different, more natural light, or in the shade, or even cover it up with your hands and see how it looks with no light at all.
Perfect. Yes, that's a good tip, a very good tip to know. True. So go in different light sources and see what can be unveiled there. Yep. Perfect. It was a pleasure to be here with you, and an honor. I'm so happy we did this, and I hope maybe we're going to do it in the future, and we're going to actually meet if I will be in Sydney, and we can do a live all together in the same place.
Absolutely. That would be very enjoyable. We'd love that.
Amazing. Thank you for being our host to the Opal Mind Boutique, Renata, directly from Sydney. And John, thank you for being our guide to the mines. Now I was curious, can we see the outside scenery now at the end? We said
there's only
goodbye.
one single problem. I think it's too dark.
Oh, I forgot.
Yes, we had a reasonable sunset, but definitely nothing to see now.
Oh, I forgot. Okay, we will do that another time.
Stars.
I'm
We'll have to
in
do it a little bit
Europe.
earlier next time.
I'm in Europe. I have a sunny day here. I didn't even realize for you it's night. So next time we will see the sights. But anyway, John, it's kind of 45 kilometers away from the mines. So yes. Thank you for everything. Thank you, Renata. If you have anything to add, or please share with us.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to. It's always so lovely to be speaking with you, Flavia. So I really hope to to be in the same place at the same time one day.
Thank you, Flavia.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Renata. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.